my lovelies, it is time for another book haul, so stay tuned. So as you can see, I have a lot of books this month. It just happened. I'm not really sure how it happened, but I accumulated a lot of books. I don't even know how many books. It's a lot. And yeah, I'm going to move these down to the floor because right now they're very wobbly. And move you a little closer and we will talk books. Okay, so I thought I would start with books that were gifted to me. So first off, I have 3 books that were gifted to me from my friend Clint. You might have seen this in a different video, or I think it was my unhaul/haul that I did with him, but it was just this. So I have A Night In with Audrey Hepburn and A Night In with Marilyn Monroe by Lucy Holiday. These look so cute. And let's see. The Audrey Hepburn one is the first one. I don't know if these are supposed to be standalones. I think, no, same characters. Okay. This says actress Libby Lomax has retreated into the world of classic movies, where the immortal lives of her favorite screen goddesses seem to offer so much more in the romance department than her own life. After a terrible day on set where she embarrasses herself in front of the entire cast, and worst of all, its sexy bad boy star, Dylan O'Hare, she plonks herself down on her battered couch to watch Breakfast at Tiffany's for the trillionth time. Suddenly, Libby is astonished to find screen icon Audrey Hepburn, complete with little black dress, trademark sunglasses, and vintage cigarette holder, sitting beside her and offering advice. But has Libby got what it takes to turn her life from a turkey into a blockbuster? Perhaps with a little bit of Audrey Hepburn magic, she might just pull it off. And I think these sound so stinking cute. And the other one is Branded by Emma Nicole. This is an Everyday Heroes World novel. And this says, get in, get out, on to the next call. Don't let the job melt into your personal life. I was never supposed to see Sawyer Westbrook again. I was in and then I was out, just like I was supposed to be. But her soot-covered face was etched into my mind. Her scared eyes seared into my soul. I've never stopped thinking about her, but she doesn't remember who I am. To her, I'm just another cocky firefighter looking to score a night in her bed. If she really knew who I was, she'd remember that on the night I pulled her from the flames, she vowed to hate me forever. Emma Nicole's Branded is an angsty, steamy contemporary romance written in Kay Bromberg's Everyday Heroes World project. Okay. Next up, I have some books that were gifted to me by one of my lovely coffee patrons. Her name is Dana, and we love Dana. And she gave me a note with each book. So the first one says, just a gift of appreciation for all your hard work and effort you put into making content for the rest of us to enjoy and have a corner of the internet that feels safe. And she sent me The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. And this says, a heartfelt and refreshing debut novel that proves one thing. There's not enough data in the world to predict what will make your heart tick. Stella Lane comes up with algorithms to predict customer purchases, a job that has given her more money than she knows what to do with, and way less experience in the dating department than the average 30-year-old. It doesn't help that Stella has Asperger's, or that French kissing reminds her of a shark getting its teeth cleaned by pilotfish. Her conclusion, she needs lots of practice with a professional, which is why she hires escort Michael Fan, or Fawn, with the looks of a K-drama star and the martial arts moves to match. The Vietnamese-Swedish stunner can't afford to turn down Stella's offer, and when she comes up with a lesson plan, he proves willing to help her check off all the boxes, from foreplay to more than missionary position. Before long, Stella not only learns to appreciate his kisses, but to crave all the other things he's making her feel. Their no-nonsense partnership starts making a strange kind of sense, and the pattern that emerges will convince Stella that love is the best kind of logic. Sounds so cute. And I've heard amazing things about that. And the second note says, and for encouraging me that I can do booktube if I go for it and allowing me to use your Wheel of TBR game. And the book is Every Last Secret by A.R. Torr. This says, all she wants is the good life. Right now it belongs to someone else, but not for long. Kat Winthrop has worked hard to get what she has, a gorgeous home, social standing, and William, her successful, handsome husband. Then a friendly new couple moves into the estate next door. While cautious, a good neighbor like Kat greets them with open arms and warm hospitality. Nina Ryder isn't a fellow lady of leisure. A life coach with off-the-rack dresses, personal issues, and a husband who hasn't delivered. She's anxious to move up in the world. This beautiful new town is a step in the right direction. It's also making Nina aware of what she doesn't have, namely William. When Nina's infatuation escalates into obsession, it's just a matter of eliminating a few obstacles to get the life she wants, the life next door. As Nina's secret fixation grows, so does her friendship with Kat, but beneath their cordial interactions is a wealth of temptations, secrets, and toxic jealousy. For both women, the desire for a perfect life can turn perfectly dangerous, and I think this sounds amazing. And last but certainly not least, the third note says, I know we haven't met in person, but I cherish our growing friendship. Love you, girlie. Love you too, Dana. And she sent me Flirting with Fate by J.C. Cervantes. And let's see. This says, oh, how does this look? This says, Ava Grandos will never forgive herself for being late to her beloved Nana's deathbed. But due to a flash flood that left Ava in a fender bender with a mysterious boy, she missed her grandmother's mystical blessing, one that has been passed between the women of her family upon death for generations. Then Nana's ghost appears with a challenge from beyond the grave. As it turns out, Nana did give Ava a blessing, but it missed its target, landing with the boy from the night of the storm instead. Was it fate? Ava refuses to believe so. With the help of her sisters and Nana's rather bumbling spiritual guide, she's determined to reclaim her share of the family magic and set Nana free. For guarded Ava, befriending some random boy is the last thing she wants to do. She's gotten along just fine protecting her heart. Keeping people at a distance is a great way to ensure no one ever hurts you. But as Ava embarks on her mission to retrieve the lost blessing, she starts to wonder if getting close to Thunderstorm Boy is worth the risk. In her swoony, heartwarming young adult debut, New York Times bestselling author J.C. Cervantes weaves an unforgettable tale about family, fate, and finding love where you least expect it. I think this sounds so cute too. Okay, next up is a giveaway that I still have in the box here. Not a giveaway, a gift. So the note says, this is one of my favorite books, Enjoy, from Caitlin. Thank you, Caitlin. And that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir or Wire. Let's see. This one looks like so. This says, a lone astronaut, an impossible mission, an ally he never imagined. Ryland Grace is a sole survivor on a desperate last chance mission, and if he fails, humanity and Earth itself will perish. Except that right now, he doesn't know that. He can't even remember his own name, let alone He can't even remember his own name, let alone the nature of his assignment or how to complete it. All he knows is that he's been asleep for a very, very long time, and he's just been awakened to find himself millions of miles from home with nothing but 2 corpses for company. His crewmates dead, his memories fuzzily returning, Ryland realizes that an impossible task now confronts him. Hurtling through space on this tiny ship, it's up to him to puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery and conquer an extinction-level threat to our species. And with the clock ticking down and the nearest human being light years away, he's got to do it all alone. Or does he? An irresistible interstellar adventure as only Andy Weir could imagine it. Project Hail Mary is a tale of discovery, speculation, and survival to rival The Martian, while taking us to places it never dreamed of going. Thank you so much, Caitlin. And then I want to give away from Pete. It says, Pete, beyond the book, your pick of the patch has arrived. Carve out room on your shelf for these must-reads. And I haven't opened this yet, so I don't know what's in here. I forget what the giveaway was for, so let's see. Oh my. Okay, I know. So there's most of the books in here are books that I don't already own, and I'm very excited to read. Though there's at least one book in here that I have gotten so many times. And I'm going to show that one first because it's funny. Ray Bear. I have like 3 copies on my shelves, and I gave another copy away because I won it in a giveaway. And now I've won another copy. So this is probably going to go as a gift or something to someone else. Okay, now for the ones that I don't own. The first one is My Sister's Big Fat Indian Wedding by Sajni Patel. This says, 1 week could make or break Zuri's entire future. Zurika Damani is a naturally gifted violinist with a love for contemporary beats. But when you're part of a big Indian family, everyone has expectations, and those certainly don't include hip-hop violin. After being rejected by Juilliard, Zuri's last hope is a contest judged by a panel of top-tier college scouts. The only problem? The competition is set during Zuri's sister's extravagant wedding week, and Zuri has already been warned repeatedly not to miss a single moment. Amid the chaos, Zuri's mom is in matchmaking mode to pair her with the groom's South African cousin, Naveen, who just happens to be a cocky vocalist set on stealing Zuri's spotlight at the scouting competition. Luckily, Zuri has a crew of loud and loyal cousins cheering her on. Now all she has to do is wow the judges, evade her parents, resist Naveen's charms, and oh yeah, not mess up her sister's big fat Indian wedding. What could possibly go wrong? This sounds like so much fun. Okay, next up is The Last Airbender, Dawn of Yang-Chen by F.C. Yee. And this is the sequel to Rise of Kyoshi. So pretty. Oh, actually, I'm wrong. The Rise of Kyoshi is a duology, I think, and it's The Rise of Kyoshi and The Shadow of Kyoshi, but this is part of the Chronicles of the Avatar. And so this is the first book in the Yang Chen novels, so I can read you about this. This says, Yang Chen's inexperience may prove to be her greatest asset. Plagued by the voices of avatars before her for as long as she can remember, Yang Chen has not yet earned the respect felt for Avatar Setso, her predecessor. In an era where loyalty is bought rather than earned, she has little reason to trust her counsel. When Yang Chen travels to Ben-Er in the Earth Kingdom on political business, a chance encounter with an informant named Kavik leads to a wary partnership. Ben-Er is a city ruled by corrupt Shang merchants who have become resentful of the mercurial Earth King and his whims. To extract themselves from his influence, the Shangs have one solution in mind, a mysterious weapon of mass destruction that would place power squarely in their hands. As Yang Chen and Kavik seek to thwart the Shang's plans, their unlikely friendship deepens. But for Yang Chen to chart her course as a singularly powerful avatar, she must learn to rely on her own wisdom above all else. This propulsive third installment in the Chronicles of the Avatar series illuminates Avatar Yang Chen's journey from uncertain young woman to revered leader. Okay. And then the last book in this box is Outer Banks Lights Out by Alyssa Scheinmel. And it says, an original novel based on the hit Netflix series. It says, JJ and John B wouldn't be caught dead with kooks on a typical day. But when they're stuck at sea with a gorgeous kook in tow, can they make it out alive? It's spring break in the Outer Banks and the islands are swarming with tourists. The last thing JJ and John B want to do is spend their week watching kooks in action. So they plan a fishing getaway to the notoriously dangerous Frying Pan Shoals, nicknamed Graveyard of the Atlantic, for good reason. Soon after they set sail, the friends run into the captivating Savannah, who hitches a ride aboard the HMS Prague, where her boyfriend leaves her stranded. As a violent storm sets in, the three realize the only place to safely ride out the squall is a creepy abandoned hotel on the shoal's lighthouse platform. Or is it abandoned? It doesn't take long for the three teens to realize they may not be alone. Further complicating the life or death adventure is a mounting attraction between JJ and the secretive Savannah. Even if they get out of the shoals alive, can a Pog-Kook romance survive the high-stakes shores of the Outer Banks? Okay, interesting. I don't know that I've actually ever watched this show, so I'm curious. And I think that's everything in this box. Yeah. So a lot of my books are books that I pre-ordered from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Book Depository, but there are some that I've bought in person, so I thought I'd go over those. So these, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, I believe. I think these all came from when I was visiting my friend Clint. So the first one was at this really cool bookstore that had like, let me move this, so whatever that flashing light is out there. Okay, anyway, this really cool bookstore that he took me to. I got this copy of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. I just thought this was such a pretty cover. Love it. Then at Barnes & Noble, I got She's Gone by David Bell. They had this for $5 when you bought something from the bakery or whatever. So I couldn't pass it up. This says, how can you lie when you can't remember the truth? When 17-year-old Hunter Grifford wakes up in the hospital on the night of homecoming, he's shocked to learn that he and his girlfriend Chloe Summers have been in a terrible car accident. Hunter has no memory of the crash, and his shock turns to horror when he's told that Chloe's blood has been found in the car, but she has disappeared. Back at school, his fellow students taunt him, and his former best friend starts making a true crime documentary about the case, one that points the finger directly at Hunter. And just when things can't get any worse, Chloe's mother stands in front of the entire town at a candlelight vigil and accuses Hunter of murder. Under mounting pressure from the police, Hunter takes matters into his own hands by questioning anyone who might know the truth and posting videos to prove his innocence. When Hunter learns he and Chloe were seen arguing loudly outside the dance, he faces a sickening possibility. Was he angry enough to kill the person he loved? And then we went to his library and I purchased, they had like a little store where they were selling some used books. And so for like $2, I got A Man Called Uwe by Frederick Bachman. And this says, at first sight, Uwe is almost certainly the grumpiest man you will ever meet. A curmudgeon with staunch principles, strict routines, and a short fuse. People think him bitter, and he thinks himself surrounded by idiots. Uwe's well-ordered, solitary world gets a shake-up one November morning with the appearance of new neighbors, a chatty young couple, and their 2 boisterous daughters who announce their arrival by accidentally flattening Uwe's mailbox with their U-Haul. What follows is a heartwarming tale of unkempt cats, unlikely friendships, and a community's unexpected reassessment of the one person they thought they had all figured out. A word-of-mouth bestseller that has caused a sensation across Europe, Frederick Bachman's irresistible novel about the angry old man next door is an uplifting exploration of the unreliability of first impressions and a gentle reminder that life's sweeter when it's shared with other people. And I don't know about you, but this gives me Up vibes, like the movie Up. Okay, then we went into this thrift store and I got the Stepmom Shake Up by Nikki Lenz. And this says, Grace plus Dad equals the perfect team. After Grace's mom died, she and her dad grew extra close. They have special nicknames and are always busy with new projects, like building a puppy condo for their dog, POTUS. And they love learning random facts about the US presidents. Grace thinks her little family of two is perfect. Then some committee members at church suggest it's time for Dad to start dating again, and Dad agrees. Grace knows that adding a new member to the team will end in disaster. No problem. She and her best friend have a plan. Operation Stepmom Shakeup. But what if a little shakeup is exactly what Grace's family needs? And then the next 3 books are all part of a series. I got these from Half Price Books. These are, I think, the British editions. And I've heard really, really good things. So we have, oh gosh, they're thick too. We have A Discovery of Witches, Shadow of Night, and The Book of Life. And this is by Deborah Harkness. So A Discovery of Witches is the first book, and oh my goodness, nearly 700 pages. Okay, so the back of this actually doesn't really tell me anything, so I've pulled it up on Goodreads to tell you. This says, a richly inventive novel about a centuries-old vampire, a spellbound witch, and the mysterious manuscript that draws them together. Deep in the stacks of Oxford's Bodleian Library, young scholar Diana Bishop unwittingly calls up a bewitched alchemical manuscript in the course of her research. Descended from an old and distinguished line of witches, Diana wants nothing to do with sorcery, so after a furtive glance and a few notes, she banishes the book to the stacks. But her discovery sets a fantastical underworld stirring, and a horde of demons, witches, and vampires soon descends upon the library. Diana has stumbled upon a coveted treasure lost for centuries, and she is the only creature who can break its spell. Debut novelist Deborah Harkness has crafted a mesmerizing and addictive read, equal parts history and magic, romance and suspense. Diana is a bold heroine who meets her equal in vampire geneticist Matthew Claremont and gradually warms up to him as their alliance deepens into an intimacy that violates age-old taboos. This smart, sophisticated story harks back to the novels of Anne Rice, but it is as contemporary and sensual as the Twilight series, with an extra serving of historical realism. I think this sounds so interesting. So I'm very much looking forward to reading these at some point, but dang, that's thick. These next 4 books are books that I got from my local Barnes & Noble. So the first one is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. And it has these pretty sprayed edges. I like the periodic table on the inside. This says, Chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman. In fact, Elizabeth Zott would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman. But it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality. Except for one, Calvin Evans, the lonely, brilliant, Nobel Prize nominated grudge holder who falls in love with, of all things, her mind. True chemistry results. Like science, though, life is unpredictable, which is why a few years later, Elizabeth Zott finds herself not only a single mother, but also the reluctant star of America's most beloved cooking show, Supper at 6. Elizabeth's unusual approach to cooking, combine 1 tablespoon acetic acid with a pinch of sodium chloride, proves revolutionary. But as her following grows, not everyone is happy, because as it turns out, Elizabeth Zott isn't just teaching women to cook, she's daring them to change the status quo. Laugh out loud funny, shrewdly observant, and studded with a dazzling cast of supporting characters, Lessons in Chemistry is as original and vibrant as its protagonist. I think this sounds so good too. And then I got some special collector's editions. So I have this Beauty and the Beast and Other Classic Fairy Tales. And right now it's still wrapped in the plastic, but it's so pretty. And then I also got Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Other Stories by Lewis Carroll. Again, so incredibly pretty. And then I also got this cute little My Book Journal, a reading diary for bibliophiles. It has so many things in it. It's got places for you to put reviews. It also has reading challenges. It has lists of like Booker Prize for fiction for like every year. Pulitzer Prize for fiction, Modern Library, just all kinds of stuff. And I think this is really neat. Okay, so the rest of the books here are all ones that I've pre-ordered from one thing or another. So the first one I have is The Lies We Tell by Katie Zhao. This says, all Anna wants for her freshman year at her local university is to impress academically, make new friends, ignore her irritating childhood rival, Chris Liu, and investigate the unsolved on-campus murder of her former babysitter. When Anna links an attack at the Liu family bakery to the past crime, she is forced to draw Chris into the spiraling investigation. While she grew up in this town, Anna starts to feel more and more as if she isn't really at home, or maybe someone thinks she doesn't belong. From the author of How We Fell Apart comes an intense and thrilling YA novel about what it means to feel unsafe in the places we call home. Interesting. Next up is Whiteout. This is by Danielle Clayton, Tiffany D. Jackson, Nick Stone, Angie Thomas, Ashley Woodfolk, and Nicola Yoon. They also did Blackout, so I'm not sure if this follows the same characters or what. Blackout is like the power goes out in New York, and it's like all these different people and their stories connected, and love stories and whatever. Christmas, it says, Whiteout, it says, it's just before Christmas and no one is prepared for this whiteout, but sometimes the most magical moments are a total surprise. As the city grinds to a halt, 12 teenagers band together to help a friend pull off the most epic apology of her life. Will they be able to make it happen in spite of the storm? And I think it's gonna be cute. Then we have Marlowe Banks Redesign by Jacqueline Firkins. And this says, Marlowe Banks' life has come apart at the seams. With her engagement over and her latest costume design a critical flop, Marlowe flees to New York City and takes a job in Los Angeles as a production assistant on a popular TV show. Her plan, hide from her ex, from the critics, and from her own sense of failure. When a costume mix-up requires Marlowe to step into a scene, the camera catches a heated look between her and Agnes Gordon, the show's arrogant bad boy, getting everyone talking. As the pair is forced together on set, Marlowe gets a glimpse of a life she's always wanted but isn't sure she's ready for. And when her past comes calling, she has to decide if she's going to keep hiding or if it's time for a redesign. So cute. Sorry if there was an angle change, but my battery died. Okay, so the next book I have here is Sea Sparrow by Kristen Kishore. This is the 5th book in the Graceling Realm series. And I've pulled it up here on Goodreads so I could tell you about Graceling. This says, Katza has been able to kill a man with her bare hands since she was 8. She's a Graceling, one of the rare people in her land born with an extreme skill. As a niece of the king, she should be able to live a life of privilege, but graced as she is with killing, she is forced to work as the king's thug. She never expects to fall in love with beautiful Prince Poe. She never expects to learn the truth behind her grace, or the terrible secret that lies hidden far away, a secret that could destroy all 7 kingdoms with words alone. With elegant, evocative prose and a cast of unforgettable characters, debut author Kristen Kishore creates a mesmerizing world, a death-defying adventure, and a heart-racing romance that will consume you hold you captive, and leave you wanting more. And I did actually read the first book and gave it 4 stars, so I'm looking forward to continuing. Okay, next up is another special edition book that I got. That I have multiple copies of this book, but I needed this one too. And that is Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. It is this stunning edition with these gold edges. It is so pretty. There's like a ribbon bookmark. It's just beautiful. I read it. I gave it 5 stars. I freaking loved it. But I thought I would read on Goodreads what it says. It says, an inheritance of shadows, a love in chains, an unconquerable foe. Cordelia Carstairs is a shadow hunter, a warrior trained since childhood to battle demons. When her father is accused of a terrible crime, she and her brother travel to London in hopes of preventing the family's ruin. Cordelia's mother wants to marry her off, but Cordelia is determined to be a hero rather than a bride. Soon Cordelia encounters childhood friends James and Lucy Herondale and is drawn into their world of glittering ballrooms, secret assignations, and supernatural salons where vampires and warlocks mingle with mermaids and magicians. All the while, she must hide her secret love for James, who is sworn to marry someone else. But Cordelia's new life is blown apart when a shocking series of demon attacks devastates London. These monsters are nothing like those shadow hunters have fought before. These demons walk in daylight, strike down the unwary with incurable poison, and seem impossible to kill. London is immediately quarantined. Trapped in the city, Cordelia's friends discover that a dark legacy has gifted them with incredible powers and force a brutal choice that will reveal the true cruel price of being a hero. And I'm so excited for the next book in this series, but I love this one and I want to reread it soon. Okay, next up is The Book Haters Book Club by Gretchen Anthony. And this says, all it takes is the right book to turn a book hater into a book lover. That was what Elliot, the beloved co-owner of Over the Rainbow Bookshop, believed before his untimely passing. He always had the perfect book suggestion for the self-proclaimed book hater. Now his grief-ridden business partner, Irma, has agreed to sell the cozy Over the Rainbow to condo developers. But others won't give up the bookshop without a fight. When Irma breaks the news to her daughters, Bree and Lainey, and Elliot's romantic partner, Tom, they are aghast. Over the Rainbow has been Bree and Lainey's sanctuary since childhood, and Tom would do anything to preserve Elliot's legacy. Together, they conspire to save the bookshop, even if it takes some snooping, gossip, and minor sabotage. Filled with humor, family hijinks, and actual reading recommendations, The Book Haters Book Club is the ideal feel-good read. It's a love letter to everyday heroes, those booksellers and librarians dedicated to putting the right books into the right hands every day. Love me a bookish book. Next up is The Cabin in the Woods by Sarah Alderson. And this says, in a cabin in a wood, a woman by the window stood, and glancing out she thought she heard footsteps whistling, something stirred. Hiding here, she fears the night, for what's done in the dark will come to light. She must run fast to escape her lie, or she'll be the next to die. A gripping thriller from the master of edge-of-your-seat twists, Sarah Alderson, perfect for fans of Claire Douglas and Harlan Coben. And it is not told in prose like that. This looks like it's going to be a quick read, though, the way it's written. Exciting. Next is Spells for Lost Things by Jenna Evans Welch. And this says, Willow has never felt like she belonged anywhere and is convinced that the only way to find true home is to travel the world, something she plans to do as soon as possible. But her plans are pushed aside when her aloof and often absent mother drags her to her hometown of Salem, Massachusetts, to help wrap up the affairs of an aunt who has just died. An aunt Willow didn't even know she had. Mason has also felt like he's never belonged anywhere, but that might be because he's been in and out of foster homes his entire life. Stuck in Salem for a short time, Mason fully intends to escape from his new foster family and get back to his mom, wherever she may be. But when he meets Willow, he can't help but be pulled into her infectious desire to uncover the history behind her mother's secretive past in Salem, her mysterious aunt who may or may not be a witch, and the centuries-old curse on her family. As the two explore the notorious coastal town, make their way from one ancient ivy-covered house to the next, and visit too many New Age shops, they venture unexpectedly into a heartwarming romance. The universe seems to have brought the two of them together for something special, if only they can summon up the courage to discover what that something is. And I think this sounds so cute. I'm so excited for all of these books, like, oh my goodness. Okay, the next one we have is The StandUp Groomsmen by Jackie Lau. This says, a bridesmaid and groomsmen put their differences aside to get their best friends down the aisle in this steamy opposites attract romantic comedy. It's raining its butt off out there. Hopefully it's not too loud. They say to never meet your heroes, but when Vivian Lau's roommate gets engaged to her favorite actor's co-star, she has no choice but to come face to face with Melvin Lee again. He's just as funny and handsome as he is on screen, but he thinks she's an ice queen and a corporate sellout. It's none of his business how she chooses to live her life, no matter how charismatic he is. Mel is used to charming audiences as an actor and stand-up comedian, but he can't seem to thaw Vivian's defenses. If she can ignore the simmering attraction below the surface, so can he. The only thing uniting them is their goal for their friend's wedding to go off without a hitch. As they collaborate on wedding cake and karaoke parties, Mel realizes he might have seriously misjudged this bridesmaid, while Vivian discovers the best man might just be as dazzling off-screen as he is on. With the wedding underway, maybe more than one happily ever after is in the future. Next up we have Better Than Fiction by Alexa Martin. And this says, love isn't always by the book in this charming romantic comedy about a bookseller discovering how to be the main character in her story. As a self-proclaimed book hater and a firm believer that the movie is always better, Drew Young didn't anticipate inheriting his grandma's bookstore, the Book Nook. She's in way over her head even before the shop's resident book club, comprising 5 of the naughtiest old ladies ever, begins to do what it does best, meddle. Best-selling author Jasper Williams is a hopeless romantic. When he meets Drew at his Book Nook signing event, he becomes determined to show her the beauty of reading. He curates a book bucket list in exchange for her help exploring the local Denver scene for his current manuscript. From going river rafting to trying local restaurants, Drew begins to connect with Jasper in a way she thought only happened in fiction. When messy family ties jeopardize the future of the Book Nook, Drew is caught between a bookshelf and a hard place. She's reminded that real life isn't always big dreams and sweeping romance, but Jasper is the plot twist she never saw coming, and he's writing a happily ever after just for them. Oh, love it. Next up is Such a Pretty Girl by T. Greenwood. And this says, from critically acclaimed author T. Greenwood comes an emotional new novel born of the complex relationships between mothers and daughters, the often flickering line between woman and girl, and the precarious nature of innocence. Living peacefully in Vermont, Ryan Flanagan is shocked when a text from her oldest friend alerts her to a devastating news item. A controversial photo of her as a preteen has been found in the possession of a wealthy investor recently revealed as a pedophile and a sex trafficker. With an inscription to him from Ryan's mother on the back. Memories crowd in, providing their own distinctive pictures of her mother Fiona, an aspiring actress, and their move to the West Village in 1976. Amid the city's gritty kaleidoscope of wealth and poverty, high art and sleazy strip clubs, Ryan is discovered and thrust in the spotlight as a promising young actress with a woman's face and a child's body. Suddenly, the safety and comfort Ryan longs for is replaced by auditions, paparazzi, and the hungry eyes of men of all ages. Forced to re-examine her childhood, Ryan begins to untangle her young fears and her mother's ambitions, and the role each played in the fraught blackout summer of 1977. Even with her movie career long behind her, Ryan and Fiona are suddenly the object of uncomfortable speculation, and Fiona demands Ryan's support. To put the past to rest, Ryan will need to face the painful truth of their relationship and the night when everything changed. Next up is Anne, which is an adaptation of Anne of Green Gables, sort of, by Kathleen Gross. And this is a graphic novel here. This says, Anne Shirley has bounced around foster homes for as long as she can remember. So when siblings Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert take her in, she hopes it's for good. The Cuthberts seem cool, but how will they react to the trouble that Anne can sometimes find herself in? Like accidentally dyeing her hair green, or taking a dangerous dare that leaves her in a cast. The Cuthberts also introduce Anne to Diana Barry, a girl who lives in their apartment building, the Avonlea. Diana shows Anne around school, and the two become fast friends. Anne can share anything with Diana, her fears about never being adopted, her sketchbook art that no one else has seen, and her annoyance with Gilbert, a boy who teases Anne endlessly. As time goes on, though, Anne starts to develop more than friends' feelings for Diana. With the winter dance on the horizon, Anne wants to ask Diana to go with her. But what if Diana doesn't feel the same way? A new foster home, a new school, and a first-time crush. It's a lot all at once. But if anyone can handle life's twists and turns, it's the irrepressible Anne Shirley. Next up is I'm the Girl by Courtney Summers. This says, a brutally illuminating, groundbreaking new thriller from New York Times best-selling and Edgar Award-winning author Courtney Summers. When 16-year-old Georgia Avis discovers the dead body of 13-year-old Ashley James, she teams up with Ashley's older sister Nora to find and bring the killer to justice before he strikes again. But their investigation throws Georgia into a world of unimaginable privilege and wealth, without conscience or consequence, and as Ashley's killer closes in, Georgia will discover that when money, power, and beauty rule, it might not be a matter of who is guilty, but who is guiltiest. A spiritual successor to the 2018 breakout hit, Sadie, I'm the Girl is a masterfully written and unflinching account of how one young woman feels in her body as she struggles to navigate a deadly and predatory power structure, while asking readers one question. If this is the way the world is, do you accept it? Next up is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. And this says, their love was supposed to last forever, but when life delivered blow after devastating blow, Yasmin and Yosef Wade found that love alone couldn't solve or save everything. It couldn't save their marriage. Yasmin wasn't prepared for how her life fell apart, but she finally started to find joy again. She and Joseph have found a new rhythm, co-parenting their 2 kids and running a thriving business together. Yet like magnets, they're always drawn back to each other. And now they're beginning to wonder if they're truly ready to let go of everything they once had. Soon, one stolen kiss leads to another, and then more. It's hot, it's illicit, it's all good, until old wounds reopen. Is it too late for them to find forever, or could they be even better the second time around? Okay, next up is Shipwrecked by Olivia Dade. And this says, after all the feels and spoiler alert, Olivia Dade again delivers a warm and wonderful romantic comedy about 2 co-stars who once had an incredible one-night stand, and after years of filming on the same remote island are finally ready to yield to temptation again. Maria's one-night stand, the thick-thighed, sexy Viking of a man she left without a word or a note, just reappeared. Apparently Peter's her surly Gods of the Gate co-star, and they're about to spend the next 6 years filming on a desolate Irish island together. She still wants him, but he now wants nothing to do with her. Peter knows this role could finally transform him from a forgettable character actor into a leading man. He also knows a failed relationship with Maria could poison the set, and he won't sabotage his career for a woman who's already walked away from him once. Given time, maybe they couldn't be cooperative colleagues or friends, possibly even best friends, but not lovers again, no matter how much he aches for her. For years, they don't touch off camera, but on their last night of filming, their mutual restraint finally shatters, and all their pent-up desire explodes into renewed passion. Too bad they still don't have a future together, since Peter's going back to Hollywood and Maria's returning to her native Sweden. She thinks she needs more than he can give her, but he's determined to change her mind, and he's spent the last 6 years waiting, watching, wanting. His shipwrecked Swede doesn't stand a chance. Next is Cursed by Marissa Meyer. This is the sequel to Gilded, so I'm going to pull that up on Goodreads. Okay, so this is what it says about Gilded. Marissa Meyer, #1 New York Times bestselling author, returns to the fairy tale world in this haunting retelling of Rumpelstiltskin. Long ago, cursed by the god of lies, a poor miller's daughter has developed a talent for spinning stories that are fantastical and spellbinding and entirely untrue, or so everyone believes. When one of Cerilda's outlandish tales draws the attention of the sinister Earl King and his undead hunters, she finds herself swept away into a grim world where ghouls and phantoms prowl the earth and hollowed-eyed ravens track her every move. The king orders Cerilda to complete the impossible task of spinning straw into gold, or be killed for telling falsehoods. In her desperation, Cerilda unwittingly summons a mysterious boy to her aid. He agrees to help her for a price. Soon, Cerilda realizes that there is more than one secret hidden in the castle walls, including an ancient curse that must be broken if she hopes to end the tyranny of the king and his wild hunt forever. Okay, next up I have The Lindbergh Nanny by Mariah Fredericks. This says, "You may not know Betty Gow's name, but the Lindbergh Nanny is infamous. In 1932, all eyes are on Charles and Anne Moreau Lindbergh, the most glamorous and intriguing couple in America. But who was paying attention when one evening in early March, their baby son was stolen from the family home? The Lindbergh Nanny is the first person to discover Charlie missing, and the last to see him that night. With the world watching on, Betty must discover the truth about what really happened to young Charlie to clear her own name and to find justice for the little boy she loves." I don't know how well that's picking up on camera that you can hear that sound. Holy cow. That was like crazy close. I know I saw the flash. Wow. That thunder was kind of scary. Okay, next up is A Year of Reading Briefly, Great Short Stories by Kenneth C. Davis. This says, "Dive into the joys of literature with an extraordinary companion for book lovers. A compulsively readable, deeply engaging guide to great short novels. Designed with our busy schedules in mind, Great Short Books offers 58 excellent short novels as presented by a best-selling historian, author, and lifelong reader, all easily readable in a week or less. A baker's dozen approach to a fun, fascinating year of pleasure with books. From hard-boiled fiction to magical realism, from the 18th century to the present day, Great Short Books span genres, cultures, countries, and time to present an enchanting, diverse selection of acclaimed and canonical novels, plus a few bestsellers and surprises. Like browsing in your favorite bookstore, this eclectic collection is a fun and practical guidebook for a passionate reader hoping to broaden their literary experience, or anyone looking for an entertaining and effortless re-entry into reading." I think this is going to be very interesting. I'm curious to read the books that this mentions. Some of them I have read, like Animal Farm, Charlotte's Web, The Great Gatsby. I have this one. I haven't read it yet though. It's called We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. So very cool. Okay, next up is Now Is Not the Time to Panic by Kevin Wilson. This is actually pretty short. It's only 243 pages. This says, 16-year-old Frankie Budge, aspiring writer, offbeat loner, is determined to make it through another sad summer in Coalfield, Tennessee, when she meets Zeke, a talented artist who is lonely and awkward as she is. With romantic and creative sparks beginning to fly, Frankie and Zeke make an unsigned poster that is unforgettable to anyone who sees it. Copies of their work are everywhere in town, and rumors abound about who might be behind the ambiguous posters. Satanists, kidnappers. The repercussions of Frankie and Zeke's art become dangerous, threatening to tear the two apart. 20 years later, Frances Eleanor Budge gets a call that could upend her carefully built life. A journalist is researching a story and suspects that Frances might know something about the infamous Coalfield Panic of 1996. With Kevin Wilson's trademark wit and blazing prose, Now Is Not the Time to Panic is an exuberant, big-hearted novel about young love, identity, and the power of art. It's also about the secrets that haunt us and ultimately what the truth will set free. Okay, and next up is A Light in the Flame by Jennifer L. Armentrout. That rain is loud out there. This is the sequel to A Shadow in the Ember. Oh, that's so pretty. Which I pulled up on Goodreads so I could tell you about it. That says, born shrouded in the veil of the primals, a maiden as the fates promised, Seraphina Muriel's future has never been hers. Chosen before birth to uphold the desperate deal her ancestors struck to save his people, Sarah must leave behind her life and offer herself to the primal of death as his consort. However, Sarah's real destiny is most closely guarded secret in all of Lasagna. She's not the well-protected maiden, but an assassin with one mission, one target. Make the primal of death fall in love, become his weakness, and then end him. If she fails, she dooms her kingdom to a slow demise at the hands of the rot. Sarah has always known what she is: chosen, consort, assassin, weapon, a specter never fully formed yet drenched in blood, a monster until the primal of death's unexpected words and deeds chase away the darkness gathering inside her, and his seductive touch ignites a passion she's never allowed herself to feel and cannot feel for him. But Sarah has never had a choice. Either way, her life is forfeit. It always has been, and she has been forever touched by life and death. Oh, I love Jennifer L. Armentrout's writing so much, so I'm very excited to read these. Okay, next up is Bloodmarked, which is book 2 in the Legendborn cycle by Tracy Dion. And let's see what this one looks like. I've pulled Legendborn up on Goodreads. This says, after her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family memories or childhood home. A residential program for bright high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape until Bree witnesses a magical attack her very first night on campus. A flying demon feeding on human energies. A secret society of so-called Legendborn students that hunt the creatures down. And a mysterious teenage mage who calls himself Merlin and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memory of everything she saw. The mage's failure unlocks Bree's own unique magic and a buried memory with a hidden connection. The night her mother died, another Merlin was at the hospital. Now that Bree knows there's more to her mother's death than what's on the police report, she'll do whatever it takes to find out the truth, even if that means infiltrating the Legendborn as one of their initiates. She recruits Nick, a self-exiled Legendborn, with his own grudge against the group, and the reluctant partnership pulls him deeper into the society's secrets and closer to each other. But when the Legendborn reveal themselves as the descendants of King Arthur's knights and explain that a magical war is coming, Bree has to decide how far she'll go for the truth and whether she should use her magic to take the society down or join the fight. Next up is the DoOver by Lynn Painter. Well, I saw some more lightning out there. This says, after living through a dumpster fire of a Valentine's Day, Emily Hornby escapes to her grandmother's house for some much needed girl talk and companionship. There, Emily passes out on the couch, but when she wakes up, she's back home in her own bed. That's not the only shocker though. Somehow it's Valentine's Day again, and the next day, another disaster V-Day. It seems that Emily is stuck in some sort of time loop nightmare that she can't wake up from as she rewatches her boyfriend Josh cheat on her day after day. In addition to Josh's reoccurring infidelity, Emily can't get away from the enigmatic Nick, whom she keeps running into, sometimes literally, in unfortunate ways. How many days can one girl spend passively watching her life go up in flames? And when something good starts to come out of these terrible days, what happens when the universe stops doling out do-overs? I love like the whole Groundhog Day kind of thing. I'm excited for this. Next up is Charm by Tracy Wolff. And I think this is book 4 or book 5. It's book 5 of the Crave series. And again, I've pulled Crave up on Goodreads here. This says, my whole world changed when I stepped inside the academy. Nothing is right about this place or the other students in it. Here I am, a mere mortal among gods or monsters. I still can't decide which of these warring factions I belong to, if I belong at all. I only know the one thing that unites them is their hatred of me. Then there's Jackson Vega, a vampire with deadly secrets who hasn't felt anything for 100 years, but there's something about him that calls to me, something broken in him that somehow fits with what's broken in me. Which could spell death for us all, because Jackson walled himself off for a reason, and now someone wants to wake a sleeping monster, and I'm wondering if I was brought here intentionally as the bait. And I've heard amazing things about this series. Okay, next up is Gleanings by Neil Shusterman. This is a collection of stories from the Arc of the Scythe series, and I freaking love that series. So let me pull it up here on Goodreads, and I can tell you what this says. Thou shalt kill. A world with no hunger, no disease, no war, no misery. Humanity has conquered all those things, and has even conquered death. Now scythes are the only one who can end life, and they are commanded to do so, in order to keep the size of the population under control. Citra and Rowan are chosen to apprentice to a scythe, a role that neither wants. These teens must master the art of taking life, knowing that the consequences of failure could mean losing their own. It's so good. Okay, next up is Stellar Loon by Shannon Messenger. This is book, hold on. Book 9 in the Keeper of the Lost City series. So I have read the first 5 books in the series, and I stopped reading it because I actually wanted to end up like buddy reading or something, the whole series. I love this series. It is so good. It's a middle grade series. I've pulled it up on Goodreads so I could tell you about it. I want to say it's been like 5 stars for me all the way through so far. So good. This says, 12-year-old Sophie Foster has a secret. She's a telepath, someone who hears the thoughts of everyone around her. It's a talent she's never known how to explain. Everything changes the day she meets Fitz, a mysterious boy who appears out of nowhere and also reads minds. She discovers there's a place she does belong, and that staying with her family will place her in grave danger in the blink of an eye. Sophie is forced to leave behind everything and start a new life in a place that is vastly different from anything she has ever known. Sophie has new rules to learn and new skills to master, and not everyone is thrilled that she has come home. There are secrets buried deep in Sophie's memory, secrets about who she really is and why she was hidden among humans that other people desperately want, would even kill for. In this page-turning debut, Shannon Messenger creates a riveting story where one girl must figure out why she is the key to her brand new world before the wrong person finds the answer first. It's so, so good. Okay, next up is this stunning book. It is Scattered Showers by Rainbow Rowell. And it's so pretty, and it's got these sprayed edges, and there's like a white ribbon bookmark, and the writing is the same color as this. So it's like this deep red burgundy color, and so pretty. This says, Rainbow Rowell has won fans all over the world by writing about love and life in a way that feels true. In her first collection, she gives us 9 beautifully crafted love stories. Girl meets boy camping outside a movie theater. Best friends debate the merits of high school dances. A prince romances a troll. A girl romances an imaginary boy. And Simon Snow himself returns for a holiday adventure. It's a feast of irresistible characters, hilarious dialogue, and masterful storytelling. In short, everything you'd expect from Rainbow Rowell book. Okay, next up is another sequel. We have Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail by Ashley Herring Blake. And this is the sequel to Delilah Green Doesn't Care, which I've pulled up on Goodreads. This says, a clever and steamy queer romantic comedy about taking chances and accepting love with all its complications by debut author Ashley Herring Blake. Delilah Green swore she would never go back to Bright Falls. Nothing is there for her but memories of a lonely childhood where she was little more than a burden to her cold and distant stepfamily. Her life is in New York with her photography career finally gaining steam and her bed never empty. Sure, it's a different woman every night, but that's just fine with her. When Delilah's estranged stepsister, Astrid, pressures her into photographing her wedding with a guilt trip and a 5-figure check, Delilah finds herself back in the godforsaken town that she used to call home. She plans to breeze in and out, but then she sees Claire Sutherland, one of Astrid's stuck-up besties, and decides that maybe there's some fun and a little retribution to be had in Bright Falls after all. Having raised her 11-year-old daughter mostly on her own while dealing with her unreliable ex and running a bookstore, Claire Sutherland depends upon a life without surprises, and Delilah Green is an unwelcome surprise, at first. Though they've known each other for years, they don't really know each other. So Claire is unsettled when Delilah figures out exactly what buttons to push. When they're forced together during a gauntlet of wedding preparations, including a plot to save Astrid from her horrible fiancé, Claire isn't sure she has the strength to resist Delilah's charms. Even worse, she's starting to think she doesn't want to. Cute. Next up is Two Wrongs Make a Right by Chloe Lice. And this says, opposites become allies to fool their matchmaking friends in this swoony reimagining of Shakespeare's beloved comedy, Much Ado About Nothing. Jamie Westenberg and B. Wilmot have nothing in common except a meat disaster and the mutual understanding that they couldn't be more wrong for each other. But when the people closest to them play Cupid and trick them into going on a date, Jamie and B realize they have something else in common after all, an undeniable need for revenge. Soon their plan is in place. Fake date obnoxiously and convince the meddlers they're madly in love. Then break up spectacularly and dash everyone's hope, putting an end to the matchmaking madness once and for all. To convince everyone that they've fallen for each other, Jamie and Bea will have to nail the performance of their lives. But as their final act nears and playing lovers becomes easier than not, they begin to wonder, what if Cupid's arrow wasn't so off the mark? And what if two wrongs do make a right? Sounds so cute. And then last, but certainly not least, I have At Midnight, 15 Beloved Fairy Tales Reimagined, edited by Dahlia Adler. And let's see, it says we have 15 celebrated authors reclaim classic fairy tales for a new generation. Dahlia Adler does Rumpelstiltskin. H.G. Edgman does Snow White. Stacy Lee does The Little Matchstick Girl. Darcy Little Badger does Puss in Boots. Alex London does Cinderella. Rebecca Potos does The Robber Bridegroom. Meredith Russo does The Little Mermaid. Tracy Dion does The Nightingale. Hafsa Fazale does Little Red Riding Hood. Rosal Lim does Hansel and Gretel. Melinda Lowe does Frau Trude. Anna Marie McLemore does The Nutcracker. Rory Power does Sleeping Beauty. Gita Trelease does Fitcher's Bird. And an all-new fairy tale by Melissa Albert. Very exciting. I love me some fairy tale retelling, so this is going to be a lot of fun. It says, romance, sisterhood, revenge, magic. Fairy tales have been spun for thousands of years and remain among our most treasured stories. Now a diverse group of acclaimed YA writers weave familiar works with unexpected reimaginings. From Little Red Riding Hood pulling off heists to drag Cinderella attending the Met Gala to Rumpelstiltskin breaking girl code at midnight breathes new life into a storied tradition. Welcome to At Midnight. Oh, love it. Okay, so those are all 51 books that I accumulated this month. Wow. Have you guys read any of them? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye.